Hello and welcome to the Prospect Blueprint. I'm Kelly Kleiman, and my esteemed podcast partner, as always, is the very busy Mr. Rick Dempsey, 24-year MLB veteran catcher with the Twins, Yankees, Indians, Orioles, and Dodgers, and, oh yes, the 1983 World Series MVP. Rick, how are you doing? What's new with the Rick Dempsey Baseball Warehouse? There's a lot of really cool things happening. Break us down.
Well, I finally got involved, and I put together a baseball academy in Baltimore, Columbia, right out by the Baltimore airport. But man, we just the coaching staff itself is so great. We've had so many good players that want to come in and be part of the coaching staff. But as of late, Adam Jones is back and wants to be involved with us also at the same time. So he's got a great podcast. I'm going to be going on there and talking a little bit, but he is going to be around Baltimore. He's going to be around the Dempsey Warehouse and everything. We are just kicking butt at getting people on board already. Everybody wants to sign up, bring their teams in, get personal instruction. I've got 7 guys ready to rock and roll. Al Bumbry, Mike Bardick, some pretty big names, Cal Ripken Jr., actually Cal's son, Ryan, I guess you call him Junior, whatever. So, no, it's been very exciting. So I'm anxious to go back next week. We got a lot of big companies that want to be involved and sponsorship and all that kind of stuff that goes along with it. So I'm getting an education at the same time, but I'm anxious to get to teaching kids how to play baseball so they can go to Cal and be a Bear. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Well, we'll talk about that portal. Because, by the way, congratulations. We're very excited about that. It's in Columbia, Maryland. So if you're a prospect, you might want to jump on that as soon as you can. Rick Dempsey's Baseball Warehouse. We're going to get into that whole East Coast, West Coast thing because that's pretty important as the landscape changes in college baseball. But it's time to meet our Prospect Blueprint Spotlight coach today. And it's head coach Michael New of the Cal Golden Bears, who comes from a pitching background. So you guys will have a good conversation. He dominated the mound for many years, not only as a JUCO player, where he played at Sacramento City College, which is a storied program, but then he transferred to the U of M, University of Miami. Everyone should know that, although I think the Michigan people say, well, we are too, but not when it comes to baseball. He won a national championship there over Florida State. This was 1999. He led the country in Ks per 9, was named All-American, and inevitably got drafted by the Big Red Machine 30 years hence of them being the Big Red Machine. Spent 6 years as a pro, 2 years in the bigs. I guess there were some arm injuries. We'll talk about that in a sec. His coaching resume follows his timeline. He started off in the JUCO ranks, where he was over at Diablo Valley College. That's a good program over there. My kids were at we were at Monterey Peninsula College, and we played them. I think we beat them, but probably by the hair of our chinny chin. Really good program. And then on to being a pitching coach at Cal, where he is now. But in between being the pitching coach and the head coach, he was over at University of the Pacific as the head coach. I think that would have been, was that post Ryan Garco or pre-Ryan Garco?
Pre-Ryan Garco.
Pre-Ryan, former Indian. And now you're with the Cal Golden Bears. You've been there since 2017. You're entering an important year for you, and you've been everywhere at all levels. Welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me. Yeah, it's great to be here. Always big fan of Rick's too, which is cool. So awesome to get a chance to talk with you.
I'd be happy to come up and work whatever you want me to do with the catchers. Pitching is actually precision, and the catchers have to come on board and learn every one of those pitchers, just like you did. That you don't strike out that many guys without having a good catcher back there. I'm sure that it was good for you. Anyway.
No, you're right. You're right about that for sure.
Take him up on the offer too. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah. Anytime. That would be an honor to have you here.
Yeah. Book him while you can.
I'd be happy to be there.
So Rick, take your first cut.
Well, okay. Mike, it's the fall now and the coaches are getting all the recruits and everybody ready to go. You kind of have to figure out at this point what kind of team you're going to have and what kind of holes you got to fill for the season. What does it look like for you right now?
Yeah, we're in the middle of our fall season right now, so we're playing inter squad games. We got a couple outside competitions that we play in, and we went on one. We actually played on Sunday up at the Veterans Home in Yountville. Played a scrimmage up there, so we got a chance to play in front of the vets at a kind of a historic stadium there. So we're trying to challenge our guys with a little bit of travel, playing some outside competition, playing some inter squad games, keep it competitive. We have a lot of new guys this year, so it's getting them up to speed and hopefully getting them comfortable in our program and ready to play in the Pac-12, the last season of the Pac-12, and be prepared for that. And then we got some returners that we feel really good about coming back. So it's exciting time right now. Get a chance to kind of build your culture and create a great foundation, teach the game and teach these guys, hopefully, to be well-rounded players, but also, teaching them how to be great, men and leaders and, hopefully just come out of our program, prepared for anything, obviously got a lot of guys here that have that chance to play professional baseball, but most of them are going to, even if they do that for a certain amount of time, are going to have a next stage of their life. And, we just want to do a great job, in every area. So it's a fun time. The whole year's fun. It's great to compete, but this is a great time to build that, culture and foundation of the program. And I think, it's a really good group of guys. We're excited about it. We got some really good talent, young and older. And, we finished the year okay, but feel like we have some things to really build on, and we got a good group to be able to do it with.
Mike, coaches like you and the position that you have, you got to be able to communicate with these kids in order to get them to Berkeley, get them in that uniform and give yourself an opportunity to see how good they are at that time. What is your particular approach? Because all the coaches that I have interviewed, everything, all have a different personality, but they have a passion for the game like I haven't seen. What is your approach? How do you get them there?
Yeah, I mean, it's never ending, really. I think, we obviously, started day one and try to, get our whole staff established with, meeting these guys, building a culture as far as just like, hey, here's how we do things here. Here's who you're going to be able to go to. We're going to have a structure of, being able to communicate with these guys, but then it's just from there, your job is far from done. It's just an everyday approach of, how we're going to, schedule our practices, how we're going to communicate, how we're going to, hold guys accountable, how we're going to, be able to build leaders and, and that comes from every side of it, from your head coach to your assistant coaches. We have a mental skills coach. We have an academic advisor, we have, social media. So, you're really just trying to, build that every single day into your practice plan, into your team meetings. And, I don't think there's, one, it's, we obviously at times live in a culture where we're looking for a quick fix. And I think we're just trying to create, a daily routine where these guys are going to get better on and off the field, be better leaders on and off the field, be better teammates. So that just comes with just, every day, the way we do things, and over time, you're going to be better. You're going to be more prepared. You're going to have great attention to detail. You're going to understand that all the little things become really big things. And if we make that a priority every day that we, plan our schedule and meet and talk to these guys, then they're going to, continue to be better and better. And so that's just how we do it. I don't think there's any one thing we do that's better than anybody else. We just hope that the things we do every day, become better than everybody else because we do it every day and it's important to us and it's not easy. It's, there's always, going to be, bumps in the road and there's always going to be things you can't control, but we're just going to embrace those things and just try to get better, and when we do that, some good things happen.
You sound like a nice guy talking like Earl Weaver. I mean, that's exactly what he said. He just didn't say it as nice as you did. Go ahead, Cal.
Well, You come from a great JUCO background. You had great success early, and then, of course, playing D1 with the Hurricanes and such. How fertile a recruiting ground is JUCO baseball right now in getting game ready, closer to fully formed players available to fill holes and help the team win versus high school recruits and other portal players that might become available?
Yeah, I think it's changed over time. When I was in junior college, it was very competitive, and there was a lot of really good players, coming out of a lot of programs, especially the program, I was in at Sac City. And then, I think for a while, it became a little less competitive in California. You had some out-of-state schools giving scholarships. You have more guys that are going to Division II schools or maybe mid-majors or some schools that they would go to out of high school. And then now I think with COVID and guys having an extra year of eligibility on top of the transfer portal, junior college has become a lot more competitive. I think we have 5 junior college players on our roster right now. The guys that we've had here have come in and helped us right away or been prepared right away. And there's some really good coaches at that level that, prepare these guys very, very well. So, I think it's still a great option. It's the road that I took, and I had a really great legendary coach with Jerry Weinstein who, built, a powerhouse there. And we did a great job with development and getting good players. And I think there's a lot of coaches that do a great job with that. So we still, tap into that resource, the best we can. I mean, it's, like you said, I think, filling in holes potentially or bringing in someone who's a little bit more prepared. It's a tough level for a freshman to come and play right away. It's doable for the top guys, but, some guys might take a year to kind of get used to, the school and the level of competition and the development side of it. Maybe it's physical development, mental development, where some of those other guys can be a little bit more prepared, but I think in the world we're in, you have to explore the transfer portal, the junior college route, and then obviously continue. The high school guys I think are still where we would like to have those guys for 3 or 4 years to really have them be a part of our program. And that's an important part of it for sure.
Yeah, Rick, who he reminds me of a little bit, CJ Whelan over at San Joaquin Delta. He's the pitching coach over there. They have guys who throw gas. They had such a great pitching staff. He's only 23 or 24, so he's like way at the beginning. Sort of, well, I don't know if he had your records, as a pitcher or anything like that, but he's certainly a good pitching coach. But I don't think he's got your background necessarily.
We have one of his guys here right now. Yeah.
Who'd you get?
We got Jake Gardancic, their closer. So I know CJ pretty well, and he's does a great job with those guys.
He's a great guy. We love him. Let's talk about the Pac-12 implosion. How is that going to affect the baseball program now that you'll be playing in the ACC next year? That's a lot of air miles, but it might be a huge recruiting tool.
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously, sad that the Pac-12 is no longer going to be around. I think everybody, at least my first choice would be that we still have the Pac-12. It's a great conference, so many good teams on the West Coast, the regional aspect of, playing against all these guys that, are from the West Coast and have competed against each other for a long time. There's so many good rivalries, within the conference. So, it's disappointing that it's going away. But I think, moving forward, we know it's not going to be a conference anymore. We found a landing spot. We're going to have to be creative with some of the travel. I think our non-conference schedule will become much more local, in order to, kind of balance out that travel. But the positive is we're in a really good baseball conference. I mean, there's some unbelievable teams and coaches and venues to play. As long as we can manage our schedule well, I think it can be, a positive for us for sure. And, we're fortunate that we got a chance to play, or we're going to get a chance to play against these teams. But yeah, I mean, I think our guys are excited. I mean, that was the biggest thing that I was, wanted to know is like, what are your guys' thoughts on this? with our current players and our recruits, and they're really excited about it. It's obviously you're in an unknown area for a little bit of time where you're like, man, where are we going to play? Who are we going to play against? Are we going to be in a conference? And then when you do find a landing spot, I don't know for baseball, there's much better, than what we're going to be playing against. And our guys are really excited for that opportunity. And we have a good young core group of players. So, we feel really well equipped to compete in that conference too. So that's exciting for sure.
Real quick, Rick, before you jump in there, you get better crowds on the East Coast. They're more passionate about it. I come out here and I'm like, I can't even believe it. It's parents and a few alumni. It's a completely different, more passionate game. Back to Rick would know he spent most of his career.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, Mike, I totally agree with you about the Pac-12. I mean, to do what they're doing, I don't think they're really taking a good, strong look at it, because all the coaches, all the teams on the West Coast and everything, it's very lucky that these guys get to play in an atmosphere that's always conducive to playing baseball. Then you go to Texas, and Texas has its advantages also. But you heard Kel talk about the East Coast too, and Florida. You get such great weather down there, and you get great coaches, and you get great managers that really help you to develop because the atmosphere itself is very conducive. So I don't know, they should take another look at that. But anyway, I'll ask you another question about you being a pitching coach and the kind of things that you look for. You have an advantage because you know what it's like. You can develop pitchers from different angles, power pitchers, finesse pitchers, whichever way you want to go. What do you specifically look at when you want to bring pitchers to your club? And talk a little bit about your catcher at the same time, because I know he's a pretty special guy. Caleb Lamavita, is that how you pronounce that last name?
Yeah, Lamavita, yes.
He's got a chance to be a pro. If he's throwing 50%, he's 25% way ahead of all the guys that are up there already.
So. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, starting with the pitchers, I think we're looking to, create a well-rounded staff, so we do look for, athletic guys that, know how to compete. There's probably not a one size fits all recruit for us. We're going to look for, to create a well-rounded staff. So, we want to have some, left-handers on our staff. We want to have some power guys. We want to have some guys that can, sink it and a little bit. And then, we have TrackMan data now to where we can kind of, see that more in a data, way, which I think is helpful. But at the same time, we're looking for a great makeup too. I think we're always looking for guys that know how to compete, that, can deal with adversity well, that really have that burning desire to be the best. We know those guys are going to develop and use the resources that we have here to their maximum, amounts to be able to get better. Obviously, you always want that, big physical guy that's going to just throw downhill bullets but you also got to be able to, hey, we're probably not going to get, 10, 12 of those guys. We're going to have to get some guys that maybe throw from some different slots and just know how to compete, or some guys that we can feel like can develop in our program. It's maybe he is a low to mid 80s guy that we see some really good projection with and has great makeup. And we've had a lot of guys on our program where we're able to kind of, see the projection element a little bit more, especially when you're recruiting these guys at a young age. That can be very difficult, but I think you just got to go into it and, you start with makeup and you do a lot of networking and talk to the coaches and see what these guys are made of. And then, you start to look at the athleticism and the projection. And, if guys start to check those boxes, regardless of what their velocity and their stuff is now, we can project them out a little bit to be better. And hopefully, we're going to rely on our development here a little bit more, being a higher academic school. So I think we definitely look for all those things. And then, I mean, we're very blessed right now. I mean, we have one of the best catchers in the country, and his tools are outstanding. I mean, he can throw, he's got power, he can run. But I mean, I think what takes him to another level is just like he's the hardest worker on the team. He's a selfless competitor. He's a great teammate. He's willing to do anything for the team. Like you said, Rick, I mean, he's involved with all the pitchers meetings, everything we do with the pitchers, catching shorts or flat grounds, he's there. He wants, not only is it a part of our program, with him doing that, he wants to do those things, so we're really, really fortunate to have, a guy who's, I mean, definitely he's one of the best guys in the country. There's no doubt about that. But I think, the makeup and the intangibles are off the charts. And that's what guys will see when you watch him play, and obviously he's in his draft year. I think he's got a chance to go pretty good because the development's not going to stop. He's going to just keep working. He's going to compete. He's the guy that you want up in those big spots. He's not afraid of the moment. He's prepared for that moment and he, embraces it, so, it's just, it's cool. And we've had some first rounders here recently, and it's been fun. We had Andrew Vaughn here, who's the Golden Spikes winner a few years ago. And, you're at practice every day as a coach going like, man, like I just want watching this guy play today because it's a very special player, and offensively, I mean, unbelievable. And I feel the same way about Caleb. You're just like, man, I just want to enjoy being around this guy because he loves the game. He's a throwback type player. He just wants to, work and get extra work all the time. And then he's just great with our pitching staff, which is, I mean, when your best player is the guy that's handling your pitching staff, I mean, shoot, man, you're in a good spot right there. So it's very, very fortunate to, have him and he loves it here. I mean, he's just continued to get better and he's going to play all 3 years. He started for us as a true freshman and it's never looked back, which has been great.
It sounds like you're talking about Adley Rushman, because those are all the qualities I would stick on him at the same time. And then I look back a little bit farther and I say, I spent a lot of time with a lot of great pitchers with the Baltimore Orioles, guys that were power pitchers like Palmer, Dennis Martinez, Storm Davis. All these guys come in the real high 90s in those days on the old gun. Nowadays, they'd be 101, 102. Yeah. But you had to have those guys that you could work with. You had to put the time in with them in the bullpen. I think a lot of pitching staffs have gone downhill and organizations gone downhill because they've hired a lot of guys that catch, but they come in from local high schools and colleges. It's about precision. You know that better than a lot of coaches because you want your catcher to give you the target right where you want to put the ball, right where you want it finishing across the thing. And it's precision. That's why catchers have got to work with their pitchers in the bullpens, in between starts. I know it's hard on them and everything, but that's how you get quality performances out of both guys during the course of the game because they know how to help that guy get back on track all the time. Earl Weaver was great. You made mention a few seconds ago about off-speed pitchers and then power pitchers. Everybody wants a power pitcher because it's easy to call that game. Just throw the fastball when you're in trouble down on the outside corner. Nobody can really hit it that well, But Earl Weaver always surprised me early on as an Oriole when all of a sudden in the middle of a game where he wanted to take Palmer out or Dennis Martinez, who had great fastballs and other pitches, and he'd bring in this novelty pitcher that threw 3/4 underhand and could barely break a pane of glass. But he had it in his mind that he changed the speed against the offense that we were facing, and it took them a long time to adjust. And by the time they adjusted, he'd take him out and go somewhere else. So that was the way he managed, and he was the best manager I ever think. So I wouldn't imagine, my next question to you, that velocity really is the number one thing, or I should say, isn't the most important thing when getting a pitcher that can throw the ball over the plate and change speeds and get you out of a lot of tough innings.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's like you said it. I mean, velocity gives you that margin for error at times, but yeah, I think we're working on command. We're working on extension side fastballs. We try, our philosophy is like everything is going to work off that fastball. We want to be able to throw it to that extension side. very consistently, regardless of the velocity. And, if you can do that very well, your secondary pitches are going to work off of that pitch, and, so we work on it a lot. It's just like, every other philosophy we have, we're really going to try to implement that into our plan every day. We're going to try to have those catchers catch those guys every day and hold those guys accountable. At the end of the day, I mean, we're coaching the game, but we're the guys that are going to win or lose that game are out there on the field. So, we want them to have ownership of that and feel like they can, manage that and hold each other accountable to that. So yeah, I think that's something we've been working on a lot. I think it helps, in every aspect, so, now as we get into it and guys, start to get more comfortable with being able to do that, now we can kind of play to strengths a little bit. We can throw that sinker down the middle and let it run a little bit on guys' hands. Guys that have those four seamers with some ride, we can elevate, but we try to have a starting point where, look, the catchers know, the pitchers know, this is something we collectively are going to be really good at. We know that it's all of our secondary pitches are going to play, off of that pitch, and then we can start to build from there. But, if you don't have a starting point and you don't have, some type of philosophy, I think you just kind of leave it up to chance, and we just don't want to do that.
Yeah. I think it was last year the year before, in the bigs, they were only throwing 40% fastballs. And now you've got a lot of bases getting stolen. So, when you think about it, a lot of change-ups, a lot of cutters, a lot of breaking balls, a lot of off-speed stuff aids the runner. And now that they've made the bases bigger and you can only go over a couple times, the running game is crazy. The fastball is going to probably be slightly more important in that game, not in the college game. But I clearly see people struggle more with, strange releases, sidearm, and off speed guys than they do guys throwing in the upper 80s or 90s. At least that's watching the college game. But that's the pitching game. Let's talk about offense. Let's talk about what you're looking at for your hitters. There's a school out here. They call it the University of Malibu. I won't mention it by name. They make players it's an automatic take at 3-1 and 2-0, which is very clearly a hitter's count. And I think that some of the hitters who could probably benefit in those counts don't get that advantage. What's your offensive philosophy?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely not doing that. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't, it's not our philosophy. We're trying to be great in the strike zone. I think that's kind of our philosophy, and that's what we chart. That's what we manage is, we want to, swing at strikes and hit them hard, so we're trying to chart that, quite a bit and have competitive at bats. I think, being great with two strikes, being able to execute, I think, from an offensive standpoint, whether it's base running or hitting, any offensive aspect, we want to execute really well and we want to expose weaknesses, so if there's, every guy in our lineup, for the most part, we want them to be able to, handle the bat pretty well, be able to bunt if the opportunity arises. But I don't think that's our philosophy in general. I think, our goal is like, hey, let's hammer the ball, as much as we can and almost start off thinking we're in a leverage count. It's like we want to think like, hey, we're starting the at bat, it's 2-0. We're looking for a pitch that we can drive.
Yeah.
And then if they throw that ball in the zone and we can get our ace swing off, that's what we're trying to do. But we want to be great in all the other areas too. We want to be able to score a runner from third with less than 2 outs when it matters. We want to be able to drag or sack when it matters, but I think our number one goal is, if they throw a fastball, in the zone that we can get our ace swing off, or our breaking ball hanging in the zone that we can get our ace swing off, we want to crush that ball. And 3-1 count is a great time to do that, so, that's something that we, really try to focus on with our training and our drills and any type of, cage work or on-field work. We're just trying to be well-rounded hitters, but we're trying to get a lot of good swings off, and we're just, focusing on quality at bats and swinging at balls that are in the zone, not, trying to decrease that chase rate so we can get on base a little bit more too. Obviously getting on base is huge, and being able to drive balls. We're probably traditionally a little bit more physical hitting team. We rely on hitting home runs and doubles more often than maybe some other teams. We probably play a little bit more of a pro game, than some of the college teams. That's what we would like to do. But I think we also know that, hey, the defense in college and putting pressure on teams can also be very valuable. And in the right situations, and when a team, allows you to expose them that way, we need to be able to do that. So those are kind of the things that we focus on in practice, that we talk about a lot, that our hitting coach focuses on. But it's, I think, we've been pretty successful, especially with the better guys. I mean, we've had some really good hitters develop in this program, and it's been fun to see them, move on, in high rounds, and also, get to the big leagues, which has been really cool. I think, our next step is to, create a little bit more length in our lineup. That's what we haven't been able to do, the last couple of years, or maybe the last year. But we do, hitting is tough, and especially in college when you're, asking some guys to do it. I think, the teams, and that's where this transfer portal can be valuable, is, you get some teams that have guys that have a lot of collegiate at bats. They're a little bit more comfortable, and they're able to get their swings off a little bit more, and that comes with experience. So our challenge is to kind of get these freshmen to, get more at bats and learn that quicker. And then, also, have some of those veteran guys that, are just going to put together great at bats, throughout the year because they have that experience.
Well, talk to us real quickly about your fall evaluations. You touched on it a little bit earlier, what you're looking for. The pitchers are usually ahead of the hitters. At least that's what I've grown to identify. What are you looking for in a hitter? Let's say they're, 3-4 weeks out of summer ball, maybe even more. They've lost their mojo to some extent. Here come these pitchers who've just been throwing. What do you look for if you're probably not looking for batting out? You're looking for guys. Well, you explain to me, what are you looking for in a hitter this early in the fall?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's obviously, it's a little bit position dependent too, right? Depending on, what you're looking for. I think we want to be unbelievable up the middle defensively. I mean, I think for us to play great defense is going to make our pitching way better. It's going to give us a chance to win every game. So we want to really focus on defense and make sure that we are as good as we can possibly be in that area. Obviously scoring, I want to score 10 runs. I mean, we want to score 1,000 runs a game and give up 0, but the pitching and defense is going to give us a chance to stay in any game. So that offense is going to be dependent, a little bit on position, and we're going to really try to be clean up the middle, especially. And then as far as, I mean, we're just evaluating kind of what we talked about before, like how great are we at swinging at pitches in the zone, and our hitting coach evaluates that after every scrimmage. Are we chasing? Are we swinging at the right pitches? If we're swinging at the right pitches, then, okay, let's make sure that we're, barreling those balls the best that we can, and that's kind of our goal right now of what we're evaluating, because the pitching can be a little bit ahead. But overall, I think we're just trying to improve every week, swinging at balls in the zone, putting together quality at bats. Even if we're getting out, we're hitting the ball hard, or we're creating some, 6, 7, 8 pitch at bats where we're putting pressure on the other team. We're maybe getting into that bullpen. If we get one extra inning of middle relief bullpen, that could be the difference in us winning or losing a game. So, we're trying to, if we get out, let's make that guy throw some pitches, or if we get out, let's hit that ball hard and really focus on those things when we're evaluating the day. So it's not just purely outcome based. There's a way where you can go, 1 for 4, or maybe 0 for 3 with the walk, where it's like, hey, you still helped our team win that day with the at bats that you had and what you did on defense. And then that way, our guys can understand that, hey, there's ways to be successful in this game, without hitting going 4 for 4 with, a home run and a double. We can still help our team because we're not going to do that every day. So that's the way we try to evaluate it. And I think with recruiting, it's the same way. It's position based, but we're always looking for guys that can hit, man. I mean, it's hard to find guys that can really hit. So, if we can find a guy that can bang, we want him. That's for sure. So, and that goes along with pitch recognition. We're looking for guys that hit the ball hard consistently, can recognize pitches well, and hopefully can play a position. But even if you can't play a position and you do those things really well, we want you. So
Fair enough.
Mike, I'm blown away, with a lot of things I'm hearing from you, because it takes me back to the true principles of the game that I learned playing for some great organizations. Minnesota was a fabulous, fundamental ball club. The Yankees were incredible, the way that their approach to the game. And Baltimore was the best of all of them for the fundamentals. Pitching and defense will take you to championships. If you have a great offensive team like the Orioles had for quite a few years, that's icing on the cake. But the pitching and the defense is going to win you some championships. That's why I just love interviewing every coach that we have interviewed. And Kel will tell you, I go away, feeling like I need to get back into the game. But the game has changed at that upper level. We'll talk about that at the end. But for players who want you to see them, what opportunities do you give them? Do you have a lot of camps, or do you just send your coaches out to see them and play in other areas? What do you specifically do?
Yeah, it's a combination of both. We do. We run some camps. We'll probably run 4 or 5 camps throughout the year where we're going to try to invite, some of the best players from the area. We typically recruit mostly in California and the West Coast. So, we have a pretty good breeding ground for, baseball here. So it's nice that locally we can see a lot of games, close, that we're going to see some really good players. And the way we recruit, within state, being a state school or university, UC school, the tuition is a lot less for in-state. So we're trying to recruit mostly in California. So I think it's a combination. We're going to events, we're going to games. I think the best game I can see is a high school game. I like to see them in that environment where they're competing with their team, similar to the way they'd be competing here. And then you're just able to, that it's not a showcase, it's an actual game where you're trying to win. Somebody wins and somebody loses, and it matters, So I think the more that we can, watch those environments, the better that we can evaluate players. But we do still run camps here, and we go to, the events, and that constantly changes. We're networking too. We're talking to high school coaches, we're talking to summer coaches. We're trying to strategically go to the games where we can watch specific players that we hear are good. So it's just a never ending process. Spend a lot of time on the phone, and try to have as many eyeballs out there for us that we can have, so we can go watch the guys that we feel like are going to be a fit, and then make a decision on those guys.
We're going to have to turn him on as some of these Japanese players that come by our way. That there's some unbelievable players like Joichi Oyama, who ended up in Irvine. I mean, he's right up in your neighborhood. Probably could have grabbed him. He was the player of the year at Cape Cod. He's going to get drafted. He's the next Jose Altuve. I think he's awesome. But there's so many of those coming in. There's the pipeline is expanding, and they're smart kids. Thing is, grade wise, how do you at that school, because your school isn't I would call it probably an upper tier academic environment. It's a little tougher to probably recruit those kinds of players. But what's your thoughts on foreign players like that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we're open to that. There's no doubt about it. It hasn't happened a lot, but it is starting to happen more. And I think we are trying to get some contacts to where we can do that. And we're on that train a little bit right now, so we're, talking to some agents, talking to some advisors, talking to some people, to find out if it is a fit. I think for us, if it is a fit, we got to feel like it's a really good fit. And the guy Oyama, like you mentioned, it definitely would have been a fit. We're a little bit more limited on the out of state and the out of country guys, just because the tuition cost is much higher, so we're looking at, adding 1, 2, 3 of those guys to our roster, and maybe having that on our roster each year, maybe 2 to 3, 4 guys at the most. The rest of them are going to be California players. So I think we have to be very strategic about the way we do it. But we've done a great job with it. I mean, as far as just the out of state guys in general, and to expand, we would love to get a foreign player that is going to be an impact guy for us. That would be awesome. And I think, we're definitely exploring that, as we speak, really, with guys and trying to make those contacts.
Yeah, might be able to help. I spent 3 weeks in Japan with the Chicago Cub Scout team, and we played several of the colleges, and I got approached by quite a few people. There's definitely a pipeline there for you. Let's get into the fun part of the show. Well, that's all fun because we learned so much. But this is our word association and lightning round. And then we'll close out with Rick's thoughts. But I'm going to throw out a word or a thought, and you respond. We try to get through this in 2 minutes. It never works, but let's shoot through. Ready?
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
it's fun. I try to mix it up a little bit, and you'll like it. Okay, MLB players with Hercules-sized gold chains around their necks.
All of them. I don't know. I can't think of one. I feel like a lot of guys have them by now. I know my 8-year-old son wants to wear
good or
one.
bad.
So
good or bad. Good or bad.
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, obviously not the era that I played in.
Right.
I definitely wasn't wearing one, but I also know that the game has changed, and I'm cool with that. I think I still enjoy watching big league baseball, and I know it's a little different now, but I think as long as you're playing the game the right way and hard and competing, I'm good with it.
Okay, Mike, you're allowed to say no comment.
Yeah, that was exactly I'll take that as a no. Beards on college players.
We don't have any rules for that. I'm okay with it. Yeah, I think we're not. I'd love for us to have everything, but I think we limit it. We want to be we want to have somewhat. If it gets out of control, I'll make sure we have a mention of it and make sure it's right. But we don't have a facial hair rule with our guys. We let them have facial hair. And I'm good with it. Like I said, hey, I care more about how they play than what they look like. I still want to have some rules and look clean, but as long as between the lines, those guys are competing with everything they got, I'm all right with it.
He prefers the cleaner cut guys. Players with big social media following.
I mean, it's a part of what we do now. That's a bonus. I mean, there's NIL money involved, and we want that now. These guys that have it, we got probably about 15, 20 guys on our team that are getting NIL money. So that's a new world for me. Do I love the direction it's gone? No, but I think if you want to coach and this level, you got to embrace it. So I'm all for it right now, for sure.
Team you most want to beat. And I have a feeling that they're right around the corner from where you guys are. I want everyone to beat them, frankly.
There's no doubt. I mean, it's Stanford for sure. Coach Esker hired me here. We're good friends, and I love him. He's awesome, but it's the Cal-Stanford rivalry. That's always, you want to treat every game the same, but let's be honest. I mean, that game means a little bit more to everybody.
Yeah. Bunting.
We're all like we talked about before. I think you got to expose the team if you're able to expose them. So I want our guys to be well-rounded players, and I don't love bunting, but I want to be great at it.
The move to the ACC.
Excited. Yeah, I think, excited to play all those teams, get to play against my alma mater, Miami there. That's going to be a lot of fun to go back there.
We're down to the final two. Sasquatch, real or fake?
I have no idea. I'm say fake, I guess. I have no idea, but I'm going to say fake. I think we would have found it by now, right?
Well, that's who said that. Coach Mamula over at University of Delaware said we would have found it. And then Coach McCormick at FAU said, no, I believe in it. Well, I'm a believer. Rick's not. I'm going to have to convince Rick. Okay, last one. Name two of only 7 catchers who have won a World Series MVP. Name 2.
Well, we know Rick is one of them for sure. World Series MVP. Man, Was Posey one of them? No.
Think of the Dodgers.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. I can't believe I looked that up. We were talking about the other Dodger, but there's one that you could default for virtually every catching record, and you'd probably get him.
Is it Piazza?
No, I forget.
I don't know. We're in Giants country up here. We try to forget anything the Dodgers do well.
So you forgot Steve Yeager, Johnny Bench, Gene Tennis. I mean,
That's
Gene
pretty
Tennis.
rough. That's pretty bad history on my part right there. Bench would be an easy one.
No, you're not, because I wouldn't have known it either if I didn't look it up. I knew Gene Tennis and I knew
Gene
Yeager.
Tennis. Yeah,
Yeah.
he hit like 201 and he ended up with 4 home runs. I remember that watching that World Series. Okay, Rick, closing comments from Mr. Rick Dempsey.
All right. Coach, I look at Major League Baseball, watch a lot of games, and I think the analytics in a way just doesn't set well with me. Not all of it. In fact, very little of it that does too, because you learn to play the game the right way. And I can tell by talking to you, you understand what pitching and defense is all about and all that kind. But I just cannot stand to watch catchers go to one knee all the time behind home plate, because it puts too much pressure on the pitching staff when balls get by them. It's the sloppiest position now on the field, because they sit down and they can't cover enough ground to really help pitchers 100% of the time, blocking balls and keeping the double play in order and all that stuff. I want to know what your thoughts are on what you see up there at that level, because that's one position that you have to have the precision that I was talking to you about a little earlier in order to be successful.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Rick. I mean, I think, it's not as, I definitely don't enjoy watching the game as much with analytics. I think as a coach, you want to have a balance, right? You want
Absolutely.
to be able to adapt to what's going to help us. So we do that. We have a balance, of what we do. But I can tell you this, we have gone, more one knee down with our guys, and we have transitioned back to going 2 knees up a lot more, just because we feel like we're in better position. And realistically, at the college level, the precision is a little bit less. You're going to get the guys that spray pitches a little bit more, and we want to frame. We want to do a great job with that, but we also don't want, we don't want to give free 90s. I mean, one of our biggest categories that we evaluate are that winning that 90-foot battle, and if we're giving away 90s in order to steal a pitch, we're giving away something but before we're getting anything back for it. So I can tell you this, I mean, we have our catching coach. He does a great job. He spends so much time studying and working with these guys, so much extra work with these guys. They've gotten so much better. And he's not here right now, but I can tell you this, he's way more into 2 knees up and getting these guys in a position to be able to do everything well, block, throw, receive. And we've transitioned back to that more in the last year. And, even talking to some of the big league teams and the minor leagues where they track stealing pitches, it's funny. I mean, they're stealing pitches, but they're giving pitches away too, almost to a point where it's even, I mean, so some of these balls are strikes, but some of these strikes are balls, and they're tracking it all. So they know. And so you're not gaining as much as we thought probably a few years ago. So, I think it's transitioning back, just like everything. There's always, Rick, it's like you've been around the game so long. There's always this huge overreaction, and to everything, and then it kind of fades back. And I think that's the position we're in, where we've gone so, reactionary in all these ways. And at the end of the day, you want to put together a product that's winning, and we've gotten to a point where, man, some of the games are tough to watch. They're not great for fans. And I'm a baseball fan, and I don't enjoy, watching some of these games and some of these teams play, and it's frustrating, But yeah, I think it's trending back. I hope so, at least, to that.
I hope you're right too, because I look at batting averages every day before the games that I watch start, and I see 3 and 4 guys in there struggling to hit 200. And just because they can hit some home runs, they're in there swinging, and most of the time they're striking out. But let me tell you a quick story. A guy came to our ball club halfway through my career with the Orioles, and he had only won 12 games. Steve Stone was the most he had ever won in the big leagues at any time. His first game, he's got a 3-2 lead. He's in the 9th inning. He's got a low pitch count, but we got a right-hand hitter up with the tying and going ahead runs on base in scoring position, and 2 strikes and no balls on the hitter. And I call for a curveball in the dirt. And Steve steps off. You'd have thought I shot his mother. oh my God, what are you doing? Get out here, And he says, I'm not going to throw a curveball in the dirt and have it go to the backstop and have the tying run score and the winning run go to third base because I'm out of the ball game then and I'm going to end up with a loss. And I said, Steve, you don't throw good enough to throw the ball by me. You will never, ever have to worry about that. I said, throw the curveball in the dirt. This guy will swing at it. We'll have 2 outs and we'll go worry about the third out in a few seconds. He goes, okay, this is on you. He throws the curveball in the dirt. The guy swings at it. I block it. He gets a pop up on the last out. He ended up winning 25 games for us. That's more than double the amount he had ever won before. But it proved one thing, once you get ahead of the hitter, you've got to pitch out of the strike zone. You can't give him an opportunity at that point. And I wanted to know your thoughts on pitching down because I see so many catchers go to 1D again, but give the target up on the letters of the hitter. What sense does that make?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, we want guys to swing. It's like I think when we teach our guys, the whole reason that we're trying to execute our fastball, especially to that extension side, is so that we can get ahead or get an early out. And if we don't get that early out, we want to get a swing, preferably a swing and miss, So I think we're trying to always be aggressive. We're trying to be aggressive with all our pitches. I think we do try to, pitch to their strengths, and we do have guys that are going to, elevate a little bit more. But it's going to happen a little bit less at this level too. We're not going to have the horses that are going to be throwing 95 to 100, all the way through. We're going to have a couple of those guys, and then the rest of the guys we're going to have to pitch, and we're going to have to create some weak contact and swings. But I agree with you. We're not afraid to pitch out of the zone, and we definitely do not want to feel like our catcher. We have to throw a different pitch because our catcher can't block it. I mean, I think, and I felt that way as a pitcher before. That's a tough feeling to have, when you're feeling like you can't, throw a 2-strike breaking ball because you might lose the game.
Exactly.
So I think we're 100% on the same page for that.
I think 85 to 90% of the pitches when a guy has 2 strikes on him and you're way up on the count are high fastballs up here. But a higher percentage of those pitches are getting hit for base hits and a higher percentage of home runs because you leave it there in the happy zone, a little bit up in the top. You know what happens. And the ballparks are smaller and the baseballs are wound tighter. You don't even have to hit it good. You hit it out right center field, a right-hander the opposite way. So, I mean, I'm amazed that they're letting it go in this direction, but it's make the fans happy. Let them see home runs. Let them see wins because they're there to see the home team. Most of them are there, pulling for their team to win the damn game. Who cares? But all of the heads of baseball want to see home runs. Okay, they don't give a rat's ass about you getting fired if you don't win ball games.
This is a conversation.
I'm with you on that 100%. It's no fun. It's not fun to watch. It's fun to watch for those parts of it, but the rest of the game is not great. And we can add that's for sure.
Temperatures rise the more we talk about it. By the way, one of Rick's students of the game just emailed me about 3 days ago, said he blocked 3 curveballs for strike 3. That's a testament to Rick. So Rick is a hell of a mentor, by the way. I'll just leave it at that. He was thinking he wanted me to let you know that. Well, that's it. But before we sign off, I'd like to remind everyone that Rick Dempsey's Baseball Warehouse has its big grand opening. They're in Columbia, Maryland. It's coming up this next weekend, correct?
6th, 7th, and 8th of October.
Yeah, not this coming, the one after this. So in a couple of weeks, 6th, 7th, and 8th, you want to be there. Rick Dempsey's Baseball Warehouse. Check them out. It's where the prospects go to get better and maybe get recruited. And I also want to remind all of our prospects listening in that they need to visit twoadays.com. It's where you can see college coach reviews for all sports. You can leave a review and a rating as well. It's the only site of its kind. Some of those reviews are highly entertaining, resourceful for sure, because they don't just provide the ability to rate and review, but they also give you valuable tips and resources to help student athletes make a very expensive decision at a critical juncture of their lives. Coach New, we wish you a ton of luck moving forward, and we're going to be watching you for sure, and really happy you came on with us. Best of luck and good vibes.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was awesome. I had a blast. It was really fun to talk to you guys. Rick, you're awesome, man. Great talking with you.
Well, you're on the right track, Mike. There's no doubt about that. And it just amazes me, and I'll say it again, that the college coaches that we have interviewed have a passion for the game. They understand the game. They're not hell-bent on all the major league analytical stuff, because you guys, your jobs depend on it, and you know that you've got to have a successful program everywhere you go in college baseball. Everybody wants to win, but more than that, you need twice as much. You need people to become good and better people. You need your colleges to be proud of them as human beings, and then not only as players, but you also want to win at the same time. And you want to do it some flunky way. Just, okay, cross your fingers, throw him a high fastball and hope he pops it up. Oh, yeah, right. So thank you very much. I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you, and I would be happy to come up to your college and see your players and talk to them for a few minutes. Dempsey Rick, my name backwards, at yahoo.com. And you send me the invitation, I'll come up.
I love it. Let's do it. I'm in.
My expense.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rick.
We'll hook you up for sure. Well, that's it for Rick and myself. Work hard and get great grades, because everyone can't be a Rick Dempsey and play for 24 years in the big leagues. Take care.